All right, so welcome to another deep dive. And today we are going to be exploring something I think really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's this kind of intersection of science and spirituality, right?
Mm.
We'll be talking about the law of vibration and the law of one.
Right?
Have you ever like walked into a room or met a person and you just get those like good vibes or bad
Oh,
vibes,
absolutely.
right? So what if those vibes were like more than just a feeling?
That's a really great question. And it kind of, it bridges the gap between sort of our everyday experiences and some really profound concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got this big stack of sources here that you provided us with that really kind of dig into all this stuff.
Right.
It's like we've got the law of vibration, which basically says that everything in the universe is constantly vibrating,
Right.
and those vibrations are impacting us in ways we might not even realize,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you've got the law of one, which suggests this idea that we're all interconnected through like one universal consciousness.
Right, exactly. And what's really interesting is how these two ideas might actually be like connected,
Yeah.
Like could understanding vibration actually help us tap into that sense of oneness?
Right. Like, is there a link there?
Yeah.
Right. So before we get like too far ahead of ourselves,
Sure.
um, let's break this down a little bit.
Okay.
So one of the sources that you sent, Mansfield Human Response Vibration.pdf.
Yeah.
That one really gets into the nitty gritty of how our bodies react to
What
vibration.
exactly?
Do you know that we're like incredibly sensitive to vibrations, especially around 5 hertz?
It's true. And what's really fascinating about that is that our sensitivity to that specific frequency, that 5 hertz, is consistent whether we're sitting, standing, or lying down.
So it's like no matter what we're doing,
Yeah.
our body's like tuned into that.
Yeah, it seems that way. And it kind of suggests that our bodies aren't just passively experiencing vibration, they're actually like actively responding to it.
Whoa, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
It makes you think about all the stuff that we're picking up on a vibrational level without even realizing it. Like, that feeling when you walk into a room and you're just like, ugh, this just feels
Yeah,
off.
exactly.
But you can't, like, put your finger on why.
It's true. I mean, our bodies might be picking up on these really subtle vibrational cues that our like conscious minds haven't even processed yet.
Right, that's a little spooky, but also kind of cool,
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
We've got these, like, physical vibrations,
Right.
that we're all kind of swimming in.
Yeah.
But then there's this other idea that, like, our thoughts and emotions have their own vibrations too.
Yes.
And one of the sources that you sent, thought vibration or the law of attraction in the thought world, 100-68629.pdf,
Yeah.
really kind of dives into that concept.
Right. And that book really explores the idea that like our thoughts themselves are actually emitting these vibrational frequencies.
Okay.
And those frequencies can then attract similar vibrations. That's where that whole concept of like attracts like comes from.
Oh, okay. So like if I'm constantly thinking like negative thoughts, I'm actually putting out those negative vibes and attracting more negativity back into my life.
That's the idea. And conversely, if you're really focused on positive thoughts and positive emotions,
Yeah.
then you're much more likely to attract positive experiences into your life as well.
Okay, so that's like the law of attraction
That's it.
in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
But how does this like tie back into the law of one?
That's a great question.
This idea that we're all connected.
Well, if our thoughts have a vibrational frequency,
Right.
and the law of one is suggesting that we're all part of like one universal consciousness,
Right.
then it kind of stands to reason that our thoughts could actually be influencing that collective consciousness.
Oh, okay. So it's like all of our thoughts are these little ripples in this giant pond,
I love that.
and we're all in the pond together.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
Okay, so it's like it really raises questions about like our individual and collective responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
If we're all connected through this like vibrational field,
Yeah.
like what impact are our thoughts and actions having on the whole?
That's a really profound question, and it's something to really think about.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So speaking of mind-blowing, let's talk about some of the like more esoteric stuff in these sources.
Right.
You included a bunch of material on the law of one, including this one, the law of phone bookie E3M material.pdf.
Right.
So what exactly is the raw material?
Okay, so the raw material...
Kill me in and imagine our listeners never heard of it.
Okay, yeah, great point. So the raw material is essentially a series of channeled texts
Okay.
that claim to be communication from an extraterrestrial entity named Ra.
Okay.
It's It can be a dense read,
Yeah.
but it really does offer a very fascinating perspective on the law of one and our place in the universe.
Okay, so we've got these extraterrestrials, right?
Right.
Communicating through a channeler,
Yeah,
and they're talking about the law of one.
exactly.
I can see why some people might think that sounds a little out there,
Sure.
but for the sake of this deep dive,
Yeah.
let's just kind of set aside any skepticism for a moment
Absolutely.
and just dive into like what the content actually says.
Right, okay.
So what are some of the key takeaways from the raw material that relate to vibration and the law of one?
So one of the really central themes in the raw material is this concept of densities
Yeah.
or dimensions of existence.
Okay.
And imagine like a ladder,
Okay.
where each rung on that ladder represents a different level of consciousness,
Okay.
and each density or each level vibrates at a higher frequency than the one below it.
Okay. So as we like evolve spiritually, we're essentially raising our vibration
Yeah.
and moving up this ladder of densities.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And as we go higher, we get closer and closer to experiencing that unity and oneness that's described by the law of one.
Okay. I like that. So it's like a cosmic video game.
Kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're leveling up our vibration as we progress.
That's a great analogy.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
Does the raw material give us any advice on how to actually raise our vibration?
It does, actually, yeah.
Okay.
The raw material really emphasizes love and compassion as these incredibly powerful vibrational frequencies.
Okay.
And it suggests that really focusing on service to others,
Okay.
practicing forgiveness, and cultivating gratitude can really help us align with those higher vibrations.
So it's not just about like thinking positive thoughts.
Right.
It's about taking positive actions
Exactly.
that benefit both ourselves and other people.
Precisely.
Okay, so this is all starting to come together in a really fascinating way.
Yeah.
You know, we've got our own personal vibrations.
Right.
Our thoughts and emotions have vibrations.
Yes.
And there's these different densities of existence with their own vibrational levels. And then there's this idea that we're all connected through one universal consciousness.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is pretty amazing.
And the law of vibration actually gives us a very tangible way
Yeah.
to understand and actually experience that interconnectedness.
Okay.
It's not just some mystical concept.
Right.
It's actually rooted in the very fabric of reality.
I'm starting to see why you're so excited to deep dive on this topic.
That's fascinating.
It's definitely a lot to process.
It is.
But luckily, we've got more time to do that.
Right.
We'll be back in part 2 to continue this exploration of vibration, oneness, and just all these incredible mysteries of the universe.
I can't wait.
All right, we'll see you then.
See you then. So welcome back. We covered a lot of ground in that first part, talking about the science of vibration and this really intriguing idea that our thoughts and emotions actually have their own frequencies.
Yeah, we did, but I'm ready for more. You mentioned something about ancient wisdom and the connection to vibration.
Yes.
So I'm all ears.
You're in for a treat because the raw material and actually some of these other sources that you sent kind of hint at this idea that ancient civilizations were much more attuned to these vibrational energies than we are today.
Okay, but like what makes them think that?
Right.
Were there specific examples in the material?
Yeah, so the raw material specifically talks about the Egyptian pyramids as being much more than just tombs.
Okay.
It suggests that they were actually designed to work with these subtle energies,
Okay.
possibly acting as energy collectors or focusing points for what they call spiraling light energy.
Okay, I'll admit the idea of pyramids as giant energy devices is pretty captivating,
Yeah.
but I'm also a little skeptical.
Sure.
Is there like any scientific evidence to back this up at all?
Well, I mean, mainstream science hasn't exactly embraced the idea of pyramids as these, vibrational powerhouses. But there have been some intriguing studies that show anomalous energy readings around pyramid structures.
Okay.
So whether that's related to their shape, their placement, or something else entirely is still up for debate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So maybe there's more to these ancient structures than meets the eye.
Right.
But like, what does this have to do with us today?
Well, it makes you wonder what kind of knowledge these ancient civilizations possess that we've kind of lost touch with, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps by studying their understanding of vibration and energy, we can rediscover some lost wisdom that could really benefit us in the modern world.
I like that perspective. It's like we're looking to the past for clues to unlock a more harmonious future.
Exactly.
Speaking of the future, one of the things from the raw material that really caught my attention was this idea of wanderers.
Yes.
Can you remind us what those are and why they're important?
Absolutely. So wanderers are described as beings from higher densities,
Right.
those higher rungs on that ladder of consciousness we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And they choose to incarnate on Earth to help raise the planet's vibration.
Okay.
They're kind of like cosmic volunteers coming here to help us in our spiritual evolution.
Whoa, that's a pretty wild concept.
It is.
So, like, there could be people walking around among us right now who are actually from higher dimensions,
That's what the raw material suggests.
and they're here to help us.
Yeah. And it doesn't say exactly how many wanderers there are or, how to identify them,
Right.
but it does imply that even, subtle interactions with these higher density beings can have a really profound impact on our own consciousness.
Okay, I have to ask, does the raw material give us, like, any clues about how to spot a wanderer?
I wish it were that easy.
Like, are they radiating light and levitating objects?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
No, the raw material actually describes wanderers as blending in with humanity.
Okay.
They have the same challenges and experiences as everyone else,
Right.
but they might have a stronger sense of purpose or a deeper connection to nature. Or maybe like an unusual ability to really uplift others, but honestly, it's all pretty speculative.
So basically, anyone could be a wanderer and we wouldn't even know it.
Exactly. It's like a cosmic mystery.
It is, but even if we can't, like, spot them,
Yeah.
it's still pretty heartwarming,
Oh, absolutely.
to think that there are these evolved beings out there who actually care about our planet's well-being.
It is, and it ties back to that idea that we're not alone in this journey,
Mhm.
whether it's ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial beings, or these higher dimensional entities.
Yeah.
There seem to be these forces at play that are really supporting our evolution and guiding us toward a greater sense of unity.
Yeah, it's all starting to feel like a giant puzzle with all these interconnected pieces. Vibration, consciousness, ancient wisdom, higher dimensions, maybe even extraterrestrials.
Right, exactly. And the more we explore these pieces, the more we start to see this bigger picture emerging.
Yeah.
This picture of a universe where everything is connected, where energy and consciousness are intertwined,
Right.
and where we actually have the power to influence our reality and contribute to a more harmonious existence.
This is definitely a lot to unpack,
It is.
and I'm sure listeners feeling that too.
Yeah.
But before we get too overwhelmed, let's bring it back to something a little bit more tangible.
Okay.
We talked about the law of attraction earlier.
Right.
Are there any, like, specific techniques mentioned in these sources that, people can actually use to harness the power of vibration and manifest their desires?
There are, yeah. So several of these sources touch on some really practical applications of the law of vibration and the law of attraction.
Okay.
Thought vibration, or the law of attraction in the thought world. 1306862.pdf specifically
Yeah.
recommends practices like visualization, affirmations, and gratitude journaling.
Okay.
And the idea is that by consciously cultivating positive thoughts and emotions, you'll
Okay.
actually attract positive experiences into your life.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, wishing for something.
Well,
It's about actively aligning your thoughts and feelings with what you want to manifest.
exactly, yeah. It's about creating that vibrational match
Okay.
for your desires.
Yep.
So the more you focus on those positive aspects of what you want, the more you're amplifying those vibrations and drawing them into your reality.
So, like, if I want to manifest a new car,
Yeah,
I shouldn't be, like, dwelling on my old clunker.
right.
I should be visualizing myself driving that shiny new car and feeling the excitement and gratitude of already having it.
Exactly. It's about shifting your energy and vibration to match the frequency of your desires.
Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this.
Good.
But what about those, like, pesky negative thoughts
Yes.
that always seem to creep in?
Right.
How do we deal with those when we're trying to raise our vibration?
That's a great question, and it's something that we all struggle with.
Yeah.
I think the key is to become aware of those negative thoughts without judging yourself for having them.
Yeah.
Acknowledge them and then gently try to redirect your focus back to what you want to create.
So it's not about, like, suppressing those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging them and then choosing to focus on something more positive.
Exactly. It's about making that conscious choice to shift your energy and vibration.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
Good.
It's like we're learning to become conductors of our own vibrational symphony,
I love that.
right? We have the power to choose which instruments we want to play.
Yeah.
The ones that create harmony and beauty, or the ones that create, like, dissonance and chaos.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it really highlights the empowering message
Yeah.
behind the law of vibration and the law of one.
Yeah.
We are not just these passive recipients of whatever vibrations come our way.
Right.
We actually have the agency to choose our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately the reality that we create.
Wow, that's a powerful takeaway.
It
I
is.
feel like we've covered so much ground, but I know there's still more to explore.
It,
So, what else do you have up your sleeve for part 3?
well, we've really delved into the theory, the practical applications,
Yeah.
but I think it's time to address some of the bigger questions.
Okay.
You know, if vibration really is this underlying force of the universe,
Right.
and the law of one suggests that we're all interconnected,
Yeah.
what does that really mean for our individual and collective responsibility?
Right.
How can we actually use this knowledge to create a more harmonious and compassionate world?
Okay.
Those are the questions I think we need to grapple with in part 3.
Okay. I'm already intrigued, so we'll be back for that final part of this deep dive to explore those questions and more.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere. All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the law of vibration and the law of one.
Yeah.
We've explored the science behind it, the ancient wisdom,
Right.
and even this idea of higher dimensional beings maybe influencing our reality.
Right. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, it has, but I think it's time to kind of tackle the big question here.
I agree.
Like, what does all of this mean for us?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we accept the premise that everything is vibration
Yeah,
and that we are all interconnected through this vibrational field,
right.
then our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, they carry a lot more weight than we realize.
So it's not just about, like, manifesting a new car or a better job.
No.
It's about how our vibrations are impacting the whole world around us.
Exactly. Imagine like a giant choir.
Okay.
If everyone's singing in harmony, it creates a beautiful sound,
Oh,
right?
dude.
But if even a few people start singing off key,
Yeah.
it disrupts the entire performance.
I get the analogy, yeah. So if we're constantly putting out, like, negative vibes, fear, anger, judgment,
Yeah.
we're basically, like, throwing off the harmony of the collective consciousness.
That's one way to look at it. And conversely, if we're cultivating positive vibrations like love, compassion, gratitude,
Right.
we're actually contributing to a more harmonious and uplifting collective reality.
Okay, so it's like we have this responsibility then to be mindful of the vibrations we're putting out into the world.
Absolutely.
It's not just about, like, our own personal well-being.
Right.
It's about the well-being of the whole.
Exactly. And that aligns perfectly with this concept of service to others.
Right.
That's emphasized in the raw material.
Yeah.
It suggests that really focusing on actions that benefit others is a really powerful way to raise our own vibration and contribute to the collective good.
So it's like a win-win. We help others,
Yeah.
and we raise our own vibration in the process.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
Right.
Like, it's easy to talk about love and compassion,
Yeah.
but it's not always so easy to embody those qualities, in the real world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not always easy, but there are small steps we can take each and every day
Okay.
to really shift our vibration and make a positive impact.
Okay.
And it starts with becoming aware of our thoughts and our emotions.
Yeah.
Are we harboring resentment, judgment, fear, or are we choosing to focus on love, understanding, forgiveness?
Okay, so it's about, like, making conscious choices about where we direct our energy.
Exactly.
But what about those times when we're faced with, like, really challenging situations or difficult people?
Yeah.
Like, how do we stay positive when everything around us feels negative?
That's a great question. And that's where practices like meditation, mindfulness, gratitude can be so helpful.
Okay.
They help us to cultivate that inner peace and resilience.
Right.
So we're not as reactive to that external negativity.
So it's like building up our, like, vibrational immunity
I love that.
so that we're not as susceptible to those lower vibrations.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And the more we practice these techniques, the easier it becomes to maintain that higher vibration, even amidst all the chaos and negativity.
This is all starting to feel very empowering.
Good.
Like, we're not just victims of circumstance.
Right.
We actually have the power to choose our vibration and create a more positive reality, both for ourselves and for the world.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of exploring the law of vibration and the law of one. It really
Mhm.
shifts us from this mindset of powerlessness
Yeah.
to a mindset of empowerment.
Right.
It reminds us that we're all connected and that our choices truly do matter.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful message to leave our listener with.
Me too.
We have this incredible power within us to create positive change in our own lives and in the world around us.
And it all starts with becoming aware of our vibrations.
Right?
making conscious choices, and then radiating those positive frequencies out into the universe.
It's been awesome exploring these concepts with you.
It's been a pleasure.
And I hope our listener feels inspired to continue this exploration on their own.
Me too. Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep vibrating higher.
That's a wrap on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.